Hey everyone, this is a quick tutorial on how to prepare a graphic with an alpha channel for playout on the Blackmagic ATEM switcher. Alright, so you can see here we have our example graphic. We won't be outputting this example text, that will actually be keyed on later in our switcher from a chroma channel from our graphics machine. But you can see the intent of this design is that we have kind of this cut paper here, there's a jagged edge. We want to be able to, have the image back here in this black area, and we kind of want this to gently fade away, it looks like, as well. In order for a graphic to work on the switcher, we need to make sure we have three things. The first is that the image size matches exactly the dimensions that the switcher is running at. In this case, 1920 by 1080 at 72 dpi. It's because we run our switcher at 1080. Second thing is to have a solid black background, which you can see we have here. And the third thing is to have an alpha channel, which you can see here we do not have. Now that's the part that trips most people up, but luckily it's fairly easy to add that. Now while you certainly can make an alpha channel manually, it's a lot easier to have Photoshop do the work for you. And luckily Photoshop does come with an action that will do this. But it doesn't actually come pre-installed with Photoshop. You have to go find it yourself. So what we'll do is we will go out to our Applications folder, open Photoshop, open Presets, find Actions, and we have this video actions.atn file. What we're going to do is just double click on that, and that will bring it in to Photoshop's action area here. Now you only need to do this once. After you bring the actions into Photoshop, then it will remember them from time to time and from project to project. Alright, so we're going to use this action called alpha channel from visible layers. And what it needs is for us to turn the solid black background off, and then we basically just hit play. It's going to tell us that it will create a standard alpha channel that's going to use the visibility from all the visible layers. So it's basically going to do a merge flatten, and then it's going to base the alpha channel off of that. So it's telling us it's important to have that solid black turned off. So we hit continue. And sure enough, we can go over here and see that it's created our alpha channel. Now the way that alpha channels work on the switcher is that anything bright white is keyed in at 100% on top of our background image on the switcher. Anything that's black is totally invisible. Anything in between is, somewhere in between. Alright, so let's create our alpha channel for us. We'll go back here, turn the solid black back on. Now, one thing we need to do is, since our transparency is already being taken care of by the alpha channel, we need to disable our transparency back out on the actual layers. Otherwise, we'll basically be doing kind of a double transparency, and it'll look a little funky. We'll have kind of some, instead of this just kind of fading out and just disappearing, it'll in turn kind of fade into black and then disappear. So it won't quite have the intent of the image. So luckily this one was designed with just a mask on that layer, so we'll just go ahead and turn that off. Disable the layer mask. Now it might look a little funky at this point. Maybe it doesn't fade out quite like we had wanted, but when we actually export it, it will look fine. Alright, so to save this, we'll just go to File, Save As. We'll call this lower third. The format needs to be Targa, that's what the switcher reads natively. And we need to make sure that alpha channels is checked, otherwise all of our work will have gone to waste. We'll hit save, we'll go to 32 bits a pixel. The other ones do not work, so just choose that. And then we've saved that out. Now the easy way to test and make sure that this has actually worked is to go back into Finder, and we'll hide everything else here, and close that window down. And just click the target we've exported and use the space to do a quick view. And that kind of gives us a preview of what it looks like. And the quick view does actually take into account the alpha channel. So you can see right here, we're kind of seeing a bit of half dome through the paper. You do kind of have to ignore this gray background. We can't really get rid of that. But you can kind of basically see that it's worked and that nothing really wacky is keyed in. There's no extraneous sources or anything hanging around there. So that's that. It's pretty easy to load the Targa file into the switcher from there. It's just drag and drop with the switcher app. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Thanks.